Okay, I think we're live now. YouTube is giving me a please stand by for the next 12 seconds. So hopefully everything actually goes live and works here. This is the second time I've done a live stream, so let's hope this works. All right, let me know down in the chat if you guys can see what's going on here. So YouTube is saying please stand by. So I don't know if you guys can see or hear me yet. Like I said, this is my second time going live, so I'm hoping that everything is working properly here. Yeah, so if you guys are tuning in right now, definitely leave a comment in the chat. Can you guys see and hear me right now? It's saying that I need to stand by in the live stream, so I'm hoping that it's actually working. Let's see what's going on here. Okay, yeah. So I think we're good. Thanks guys. So yeah, so the audio, is it sounding kind of weird, like it's doubling up or something? Let's double check everything here. There, is that better? How's the audio now? Aaron, no, it's Jack. Jack, you said that the audio was sounding weird. Is it sounding better now? Hopefully I'm not getting any double audio. Yeah, so this is my second time really live streaming. The first time was just a test to see how everything worked. And of course, everything went smoothly that time, but now the next time when I'm actually live, when people are awake, giving me difficulties. So anyways, if you guys are just dropping in, thanks for stopping by. As you saw on the thumbnail, we're going to chat a little bit about getting clients and how to price your work. Because if you're just starting out, or even if you've been doing this for a couple years, that's one of the most difficult subjects and things to really nail down and get right. So we're going to be diving into all of that. All right. Audio sounds good now. Okay, sweet. Oh, it's only on your left speaker. Yeah, I don't know how to change that. Too new to this live stream software. I've barely been using OBS, so making it stereo left and right, no idea. Advanced audio properties. Should be both. So anyways, yeah, sorry. So I'll play with that later, figure out how to get the audio coming out the left and right side. But thank you guys for dropping in. Thanks for bringing that up, Bart. I'll definitely give that a check. So yeah, start leaving some questions down in the chat. Have you guys had difficulty pricing your work before? What do you charge? Do you charge an hourly rate, or do you charge like just a total day rate, half day rate, or is it just kind of based on the project? I'd love to hear what you guys kind of do for your pricing and that kind of stuff. So Max says he can hear on both speakers. Okay, that's good. Yeah, so maybe it's different, a little bit different for everyone. So let's chat about a couple ways first to get clients. I'm going to talk about that, and then we'll move more into the pricing side once you actually acquire the client. Because first you got to get them before you can, charge them anything for doing any work. So one of the biggest ways to get new clients for me have been 3 different platforms, and that's my website, Instagram, and Facebook. All the other social media platforms have not really worked so great for me. So it's not like I'm getting any work from Twitter or anything like that. But I get a lot of work from Facebook and Instagram and my website, where people direct message me or they send me an email because of my website. So do you guys have websites set up? I'd love to know, leave a chat down below if you guys are using if you've built your own website. I built mine all on Wix because it was like super easy to use, not sponsored or anything, but I've revamped my website a couple of times, and I linked it down in the description. So if you guys want to go check out an example of what a videographer's website can look like, go check mine out. it's not perfect, but I'm always trying to upgrade it, improve it. So every couple months I'll get on there and make sure that I'm updating the videos that are on there, photos, and just kind of the general information and everything like that. So I highly recommend that you set up a website. You can do it with whatever, Squarespace, Wix, WordPress, Amazon, like GoDaddy Builder has a website builder. All of those are really easy to use. And honestly, with about a couple hours worth of work, maybe a day's worth of work, with about a day's worth of work, you can get a website set up. And a lot of times it's for free. I know Wix has a free version that it just puts like the Wix banner kind of across the top or the bottom and says like made with Wix. But you could get a nice website set up and it's completely free and you could use that for years. When I first started, I didn't even pay for like the official like premium whatever. I was actually just had their ad on there until I finally decided, hey, I should buy my own domain name and like have it look good. So highly recommend that. That's a way that a lot of clients come in, they can see your work, get an idea about who you are, how long you've been doing it, everything like that. So, okay. So yeah, Niore, sorry if I'm pronouncing your name wrong, says you quote for an entire project, also calculating the extra hours that'll go up. Okay, so that's cool. So when you quote the client, are you giving them like just one big number, or do you break it down like, is it line itemized so they can see, okay, he's going to spend this many hours editing and shooting, and he's got a cost for music or something like that, or do you just kind of give them like a bulk number? I'd love to know. Okay, so Bart says, what are your thoughts on putting pricing on your website? I see a lot of wedding videographers and some video directors do that for music videos. Yeah, so that's a really good question. And I feel like that could go two ways. So putting your pricing on your website, if you're really comfortable with your pricing and you know that you can make like that budget work, then I think it's a good idea to put your pricing up. So wedding packages is one of those things that it's almost the same every single time. Nearly every time I do a wedding, it's always like, okay, we're going to spend all day doing the reception, and then it's going to go late into the night till 10 or 11, going to be partying and that kind of thing. So I can know basically how many hours it's going to take, how many people it's going to take, which usually when I do a wedding, which I don't do very often, I don't even know if I've done one this year. I don't do them frequently. I don't think I've done one this year. So, but yeah, so like if you know all of your costs up front, then sure, put the price up there because you know, hey, this is how much it costs me to do this, and pay someone else to come shoot with me or rent the equipment that I need if you need to get lenses or camera and stuff. Then I think it's a good idea to put a package price up there, especially for something like that. I would consider a wedding video kind of like a commodity, and most people that are going out and getting wedding videos done, they shop around a lot. I've had a lot of brides and mothers of brides message me and say like, hey, we want to do a wedding. I heard about you, blah, blah, blah. And they just ask how much you charge. So I'm like, okay, thanks. You know, I'm just kind of shopping around, getting an idea. So a lot of times it's better to just put it up there up front and like, hey, maybe you charge a lot for a wedding. Maybe you charge, I mean, to me, I think it's a lot, but maybe you charge like $4,000 or $5,000 to do a wedding. And that will immediately root out all of the people that are like, whoa, that's way too much. So then you don't even have to bother with them coming at you and saying like, hey, can you shoot my wedding for like $800? You know, you're going to be like, yeah, no. So I think that's a good idea to put your price up for that kind of stuff, especially if you know, like I said earlier, kind of your general cost. For music videos, that one I would say is a little more crazy because that could be such a massive, like kind of a large range. Like you could do a music video all in one place with just the talent. Maybe it's just the musician that's going to like sing or play guitar or something, and you're in one location, and that's going to cost way less than getting like very elaborate. Maybe you're hiring dancers and you're doing a couple different locations and you're lighting it and you're working with props and costume and stuff like that. So people that put up a cost to shoot a music video, I think that's a little crazy because some of the different ideas that I've seen for like music videos like ranges massively. And the music videos that I've shot, some of them have been more simple, like in just one location, and some of them have been much more complicated with multiple locations and, like I said, people, props you have to buy and gear you have to rent and things like that. So yeah, I think that you probably shouldn't put your pricing up for that kind of thing because it could just go so many ways. So yeah, Neroy says that he breaks up the costing for the client so they kind of know where the money's being spent. Okay, so your client didn't like the cost for the camera rental and the cost breakdown. So tell me a little bit more about that. So did you put down a camera rental because you were actually going to go physically rent a camera from like a shop in your town, or like you were ordering one online from like Borrow Lenses or something, or were you charging them to use your own camera? So there's a difference there. So I kind of need to know what you mean by that. I would say that if you are renting a camera because you don't already have one, or you don't have a nice camera that you think can do the job good enough, that putting that line item in there is definitely important, and saying like, hey, to do this, we're going to rent this nicer Sony FS5 or FS7 or something. I think it's really going to improve the quality of this project, and it's really necessary to do it because this, and this. So you put that line item in there, and you just say, hey, it's going to cost $300 to rent for the day. I think that's definitely acceptable. But if you're renting out your own camera, yes, I would rent it up. I think what you mean by yes, I would rent it up, like you mean you would rent your camera out. Is that what you mean? Or you would rent it from a place? Sorry. So if you're renting out your own camera to them, technically, I would definitely, that one can be harder to do and like get the client to approve, because a lot of times when they're hiring a videographer, they think, hey, the videographer's coming, they're going to bring their own camera and lights and microphones and whatever, and like there's no cost for that. But in reality, there is. Every time you bring out your gear, you've invested hundreds and thousands of dollars into that equipment. Every time you bring it out, there's a lot of wear and tear on it. It could get broken or damaged, and you need to repair that. And because you were doing a shoot for them and your lens or camera, whatever it is, breaks, you definitely need to be able to cover your costs. So adding a small rental fee to every shoot it definitely helps you build up a nest egg to where it's like, hey, if something happens, I can replace that piece of equipment. But I think it's about the way that you would word that. Okay. So you say no from a camera rental place. Yeah. So yeah, if you're going to rent a camera from a rental place, definitely add it in there and tell them and just say, hey, this is what it's going to be because I need an additional camera, or I need a better camera for this shoot. And if they're not happy with that, then they probably don't have the budget for your video anyways, because it's not that expensive to rent like a pretty average camera, unless you're renting like a Red or something, which may cost you hundreds of dollars to rent for a day or more. So yeah, that's ridiculous. If the client doesn't want to pay for that, that's them just being stingy with their budget. But kind of going back to renting out your own equipment, because I think this is something that a lot of new people, maybe starting out in videography, don't think about. And that is making sure that you add a small rental fee for your own equipment. And basically, you could call it kind of whatever you say. You might say like, hey, equipment use or gear use or something along those lines. And then you can detail like, hey, I'm bringing 2 cameras, I'm bringing microphones, I'm bringing these many lights, a gimbal, a slider, like all these things, equipment day rental fee or something like that, or like equipment fee, maybe not necessarily rental because you're not getting it from a rental house. And then you add in that fee, whatever it is. And kind of an average fee that a lot of people will do is they'll add up all the gear they're going to bring and then do a percent of that, like 5% or 3%. So that way, again, like I was saying, you're just kind of building up some insurance for yourself for in the future when you need to upgrade your equipment or buy new equipment, like replace equipment that's been broken. You've been able to do that. So I know I've been ranting about that for a minute. So well, all right. So let's now talk about, I was talking earlier about getting jobs from websites and everything like that. And I think that it's a good idea not to just have your website, but to have a Facebook page set up, which is free to do. You could set up a simple business Facebook page and an Instagram account. Doesn't have to be a business Instagram account. Mine isn't. It's just a personal one where I can post my work, because everyone, before they work with you, they check you out online, especially social media. Everyone talks about this like, hey, when you're trying to get hired for a job, like make sure your social media is in good order, because people are going to get on there and see like, whoa, what kind of crazy stuff is this guy posting, or this girl, So I think it's a good idea though to have an Instagram that has some body of your work in there so that people can quickly go on there and see a couple video clips photos, behind the scenes, whatever it is. And that way they could see, hey, this guy's actively working, because your Instagram is probably the most updated place with your body of work. A lot of times, like I was saying earlier, my website, I'm only updating every couple months or maybe a few times in a year. I know I should be updating it way more, but the Instagram, you're probably updating on a daily or weekly basis with new content. And that's a great way for someone to pop in and say, hey, I like their style. I like what they're doing. So if you're not proactive on Instagram right now with your video work and stuff, I definitely recommend it. If you don't want to put all your video work on your personal account, then create one for your video company, whatever you're calling yourself. Definitely make a page for it there to post your work onto, because I've had definitely people message me through there asking about work. So it's a great place and it's free to use. All right, take a look at the questions coming in here. Okay, let's see. Mizelle, I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing your name wrong, Rodriguez, he says, I'm just starting and asked a friend of mine who owns a restaurant if I could shoot some stuff for them for their social. This will be about a half-day shooting plus editing. How do you suggest? Transitioning them to paying for future shoots. Okay, yeah, so I was planning on talking about this. So if you are just starting out, definitely it's a good idea to do some free work, because right now you haven't necessarily proved yourself yet that maybe you're worth hiring. So you have to build up a portfolio. When I started out, I was definitely doing tons of free work and just passion projects. I would just get friends together and ask people like, hey, let's go shoot this thing, whether it was photography or video. I had this idea, it'll be fun. Can you come out? And usually if they're your good friends or family, they'll come out, and it's fun for everyone to just kind of shoot and see what you come up with in the end. That's a good way to first start off building a portfolio. Excuse me. But then when it comes to like client work like this, like they own a restaurant, that one, you want to be really upfront about it and say like, hey, I just started off in videography. I've done a couple videos, but I really want to build my portfolio and I'd love to make a piece for you. And if you really like it, maybe in the future, we can do something even better, more intricate. And, I would have to charge for that because it's going to be something that takes me a lot more time and we put more energy into, but I think it's definitely going to be worth it. So pitching it like that, but making sure that they know that you're not going to shoot video for them for free forever. And also don't take on a massive project. Make it simple. So if you're going to go out to the restaurant, maybe you just bring your camera and a tripod and not a ton of other equipment. I wouldn't bring a bunch of lights and try and like set up this whole thing and spend a ton of time doing it. Just get some nice like handheld shots or maybe some gimbal shots of, someone cutting up some food and pouring drinks and, putting a plate and the customer kind of eating it. Make it something really short, like a 60-second like little ad for their restaurant max. Don't go longer than that, even 30 seconds or 15 seconds, to where it's like, hey, I'll make this cool little promo video for you that you can share on Instagram stories or Facebook or whatever. Make just a good little social piece for them. And you want it to be a portfolio piece for you. There's got to be really a benefit for you. So make it look as good as you can, but spend as little time on it as you can and as little money, personal money on it as you can, because you're not getting paid to do it. But yeah, I definitely recommend doing stuff like that. Even still, sometimes there's random projects that I'll jump onto and help out with because I see the benefit of it and it can build up my portfolio. Don't do that nearly as often anymore, but I still do. And especially for all these YouTube videos, everything that I'm making is obviously for free, and I'm making videos every single week for you guys. And yeah, so hopefully that answers your question. All right. So Neroy has a question. He says, how do you get contacts? How do you get traffic to your portfolio website? So yeah, that one can be pretty difficult at first. I don't get a ton of traffic going to my website. It's not like I'm getting hundreds of visitors every single day or anything like that, but I am definitely getting traffic there. And most of that was honestly just SEO. You can learn about SEO, just Google it, watch some YouTube videos on it. But essentially, I just made sure that I built my website robust enough that a lot of the keywords would come up, especially for my location. So I don't know where you're based out of, but I'm in Arizona. So I'll put things that are relevant to my area. So I'll be like, hey, video production in Phoenix, Arizona da 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 da, and kind of elaborate on that, and give a couple different sentences all throughout the website, so that when people look it up, they're looking up Phoenix, videographer. Boom, I'll come up in this search. I'm not ranking number one or first on the page every time, but I am coming up. And sometimes people reach out to me. Even recently, someone was like, "Hey, I found you on your website." I was like, "Oh, or I was like, how'd you find me?" And they're like, "Oh yeah, I just looked you up on DuckDuckGo." I was like, who even uses that platform? I don't know anyone really that uses it, but I was like, that's awesome. I guess I'm coming up on DuckDuckGo. So it does work. Just try to optimize your SEO to get people coming into your website. Other ways is link to your website on your social media, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, like your bio, link to your website. If you don't have something else you want them driven to, like your Instagram itself or a YouTube channel, then you should be linking to your website in all of your social platforms, and that'll get people there, especially friends and family that hear about you and they're like, "Hey, yeah, he does video." They could just go to your account and they see, oh, right in his bio, there's his URL for his website. Boom, click. And if they like what they see, they're going to message you. They're going to send you an email. So I would say that's a great way to do it. All right. Yeah. So yeah, Mizell, I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing your name wrong, but yeah, like you said, it is a double-edged sword. Just don't spend a ton of time on the video that you're making. Just make it good. I would say don't spend any more than like 2 hours at his restaurant. That should be enough to grab the B-roll that you need. An establishing shot, of the outside, a wide inside, mediums, close-ups, of the food detail and customers, and maybe some of the branding, the different decorations and things like that. Obviously get back behind with the cooks, get some shots. Just don't invest a ton of time into it. And a lot of times you're trying to make things like incredible and you spend like days editing it. Again, don't do that. Just make it good, make it short and snippy, 15, 30 seconds, something that they're going to love. And even if they don't become a future client and pay you, they may not. If they're not wanting to pay you right now, honestly, they may not become a paying client in the future because they're like, hey, it's just my buddy letting them shoot, whatever. They may not see the value of it right now, but I guarantee you someone else will. I actually have a whole story on that. I went out just for fun to shoot a video with some friends riding scooters around the lake. So they're electric scooters, and they were really cool. They were new. This was just about 2 or 3 years ago. And I was like, hey, this will be a good time. Let's go out and shoot. And so we shot this whole video just for fun with a couple of my friends, and I edited it all together, and honestly, it was just a good time. You could check it out on the channel. I have the little scooter video up on there somewhere deep down in there. But basically, I never heard anything from it. It was really just a personal passion project. But about 2 months after I shot it, I get a message from someone, and he's like, hey, I really loved your scooter video. That was super cool. I do like racing. I do racing videos, or I don't do racing videos, but I have racing trucks, and I do drifting cars and stuff on the track. And I think your style would work perfect for me. And I was like, whoa, that's awesome. I didn't even mean to make it for that. But one of my friends who works out at his gym that he also owns, he does a lot of things, was like, hey, yeah, my I think he must have shown him the video or shared it on Facebook or something. And he saw it and was like, that's cool. I like that. And then contacted me. So a lot of times just building your portfolio like that can get you contacts. And I've been doing video work for them for years now. You can see some of the work on my channel from the drifting events and the truck racing and things like that. I used to put a lot of the client work on this channel, not as much anymore because it's got more tutorials. So yeah. All right, so I'm just kind of catching up on the comments here. All right. Okay, yeah, so Michelle, looks like you've got lots of questions there about finding a niche and stuff. Honestly, I'm not going to go into too much detail in that right now, but basically, I don't think as a videographer, especially if you're just starting out, that you really need to narrow down your niche and just be like, hey, I'm just going to do real estate, or I'm just going to do law videos and things like that. When I first started out, I was doing just the most extremely random videos you could think of. There was real estate stuff, shooting for stores, like restaurants, shooting like live events where someone was talking, political events, you name it. done literally videos for just about everything. So I would keep it very broad until you really find something you really, really like and you've been doing it for a while. You can maybe just focus on a few categories of videos, but I would keep it very generic and broad to start off. Okay, so checking out the comments here again. Let's see, it's Joao. Hey, thank you for the super chat. That's awesome. Michelle Rodriguez, thank you so much. Really appreciate that. That's awesome. Super cool. Thank you so much. All right, so Joao Porfirio. I'm so terrible at saying names. He says, let's see, for people that live in a country or place that don't have a good market for video, how would you approach companies or brands in other places to fly you there and do work? Okay, yeah, wow. So that's a big request. So how would you approach companies in other countries? I don't have a lot of experience with that. All the video work I've done has just been in America, so I haven't been flying out places to do work. But I would say if you want to get work outside of your country, kudos to you. That's awesome. But build up your personal portfolio first. Then, if you can't get people to pay for your work, make some videos. And like I've seen a lot of people make like fake advertisements, like fake Nike ads, and they'll do like fitness stuff. Those kind of things. So build up a portfolio of work that you want to be getting paid to do, and then keep posting it on Instagram and sharing it, maybe share it on a YouTube channel, that kind of thing. And then you can reach out to those different brands that are in another country that are similar to videos you've already made, and just shoot them a real email. Don't copy and paste it, because people know when it's copy and pasted. I get a ton of copy paste emails. Make sure that it's really custom to them, and you say, hey, I love the stuff that you're making or doing, or whatever it is, the brand or company. And then say, I also make videos like this, and I'd love to create one for you. Here's why it's going to be beneficial for you. Don't focus on like why it's great for you, but why it's great for them. Like, I could come out, I can, do a fantastic job. You're going to get a better price from me than anyone else that you're working with, because this and this, and kind of pitch that, put links to the videos that you've done that are similar to what you want, maybe a link to your website or your social, and just see. And chances are that you're probably not going to get it on every single one, or the first time. You're going to probably have to send out maybe even hundreds of emails like that. But again, make sure you're not just copy and pasting them. Make it very custom to them. You can have a generic message in general, but make sure you're really kind of customizing it. I'd say that'd be the best way, though. I've definitely emailed many companies asking them to do work for them here in the States, whether it's in your country or not. If they like what you're doing and they're willing to pay for it, then they'll fly you out to do it. Okay, so Family of Tech, hey, what's up, man? Thanks for dropping into the live stream. It looks like you're saying that you do a lot of camera and photography videos. Me too, obviously. So that's awesome. You don't want to talk about just a single camera brand. So yeah, so if you've been watching this channel for a while, the only thing I ever talk about is Sony. So, I mean, I've got a Sony camera right there in the background, shooting this on a Sony camera. Everything I do in the studio, I think we have like 6 Sony cameras at the studio that I work at, from all different levels. There's nothing wrong with that, but if you don't want to stick to just one brand, I don't know, do you have another camera? Do you have a Canon camera or like a GH5 or something maybe that you can make reviews on and talk about? You could start making a lot of videos on. That might be a good way to get those videos to take off. And if you don't, you can always borrow one. You probably have a friend or a family member that has an old Canon Rebel T3i or something that they don't use that frequently, that you could borrow for a day or a weekend and make some videos on. And maybe that'll help kind of broaden your audience. But for me, I don't find it to be too big a deal. I know a lot of people watch this channel that don't shoot on Sony. The thing is, today, most cameras that you're getting are pretty good, and a lot of them shoot really high quality 4K footage or 1080p. And it doesn't really matter the brand. So if you're making more generic content that people are interested in around shooting It doesn't have to be so focused on the Sony stuff. I definitely find on this channel, though, that a lot of my really gear heavy stuff gets the most views. People love watching gear videos, and we all kind of window shop. I do it all the time. I watch gear videos for stuff that I definitely can't afford or should not buy, but it's a lot of fun to watch and learn about that equipment and see like, hey, maybe someday. Yeah, that's kind of just my personal experience there with that. Yeah, so let's see. So Joa is again asking if you should go door to door for your work, checking in small and big businesses, need any kind of work. Yeah, so yeah, you could definitely hit the ground, boots on the ground and go knocking doors. Don't find that to be nearly as successful though. I've like when I've been working other places and people have actually like knocked on the door and come in with flyers and things like that to talk about their business. Honestly, usually the flyers just end up in the garbage. They leave and we're like, that was random. That was weird. We don't know that guy. I mean, really the best work, unfortunately, it's no one likes to hear this, but usually the best work comes by word of mouth. So we haven't actually even talked about that yet. So I think I'm going to kind of transition into that now. We talked a lot about the websites and getting your videos out there, contacting people via email and whatever. But word of mouth is where most of my work, like really the primary amount of my work comes from. So you want to make sure that you're building relationships with anyone you can that's in this industry, in the video making world. So get onto shoots with other people if you can. And, if you know people in your area that also do video work and they're involved in it in some way, you want to come out and shoot with them if you can. If you can get paid, that's the best. If you can't, hey, I'll shoot some behind the scenes photos or get some BTS video clips for you that you can use for stories or for a video or whatever. That way you're networking with them, and in the future they'll think of you and go, hey, yeah, like I remember him. He was awesome. I'll hire him to come out and shoot this with me. And that's a great way to get future work, is just get really into the community as much as you can. And if you don't know anyone in your area already, get on Facebook and search your area videography. Like for me, I'm in Arizona. I might say like, Arizona film, something like that. Search it on Facebook, or Arizona casting or something like that. I guarantee you there's going to be some groups in your area where people have already gathered together and they're posting about jobs or looking for crew and saying like, hey, I just need a boom op or this or that. So check out Facebook groups. That is a fantastic way to network and find work, and also post work if you're trying to get someone hired on, or if you're looking for actors or actresses or something like that. So I'm in a bunch of Facebook groups in my area, like, I don't know, 3 or 4 different ones, maybe more than that, 4 or 5 even, a lot of photography ones, just so that I know everyone in the photography industry as well, because sometimes I need to bring them on for client shoots and stuff when they need photography. All right. So, yeah, so Marcel, looks like you said you're shooting on the Blackmagic Pocket 4K. That's awesome. I really want to check that camera out. Really want to check it out. I saw it at NAB. Was kind of playing with it there, but I haven't had an opportunity to shoot with it yet. So I'd love to get my hands on it, or maybe the 6K. I'm pretty excited about that 6K, shooting in RAW and Canon EF mount, which is nice because almost all of my glass is Canon EF mount. Most of it's adapted to Sony E mount. So love to get my hands on that. That'd be a lot of fun. So, okay. So yeah, you're saying that most everything that you're seeing is in the wedding market, which, yeah, like I was saying earlier, is not my favorite. So I have shot plenty of weddings, but most of the weddings I did when I was first starting off. And so if you're just trying to honestly just make a living and make money or make side cash, do some weddings. And if you're just trying to grow your experience and get better at shooting and framing and just like all around honing your skills and honing your editing, weddings are a great way to do that, because you get hours and hours and hours of footage and hours of experience shooting. So it is really a great way to hone in on your craft. But if it's not something you're passionate about, you definitely don't want to get stuck doing that forever. That's why I don't really pick up wedding jobs anymore or advertise for them at all. I'm never like, hey, I do weddings, like hit me up. No, if someone comes to me because they know I do video and asks about it and it's the right budget, then maybe I'll take that project on. But if you really need some work, then, doing some weddings on the side might be worth it for you. All right. Call you John. Okay, yeah, sorry. Call you John. All right, so let's continue on here. Thanks again for everyone that's been hanging in here on the live stream. So we've talked about, just to recap, we've talked about getting clients through social media. We've talked about it, your website, word of mouth. There's a couple more ways that I want to talk about it. That is probably more frequent and common in the States, but I imagine elsewhere that it does happen. But that's through marketing agencies and advertising agencies. So a lot of the work that I've gotten has been from connections that I have to a couple marketing companies. And so these marketing companies, they're constantly doing work for their clients. They create their logos, they create their social media posts. Excuse me. So a lot of them create all this different stuff. They create their websites, they do their branding, everything like that. And then eventually, a lot of times the clients ask for a video as well. And so if you have a good connection with an advertising agency, they'll probably hit you up. They'll say, hey, we have this new client, this air conditioning company, or a lot of times they're random things because they do marketing for everyone, or this restaurant or whatever, like we were talking about earlier, and we need a video made. So connecting with someone in your area that does marketing is a great way. So you don't always just want connections in the video world, but in the marketing, advertising world, it's fantastic because that's a way that you can get a lot of work and continuous work because they have a lot of times a large body of clients. They might be working with like 20, 40, 50 different companies that they do marketing for. And if you get a good relationship with them and you make good videos for them and their clients, they'll keep hiring you back over and over as they get new clients. In return, you're getting new clients really because they all need video work. So that's a fantastic way to do it. And if you're not sure how to connect with these companies, like at first I was like, how do I connect with these people? How do I find them? A lot of times there's business networking groups that you can join. So there's a whole bunch of different ones. Definitely Google it. See if there's any like business networking companies in your area. And a lot of them, there's some that meet in my area every single week. They meet for an hour and it's like a whole bunch of different industries and they all come together and they talk about how they can grow their businesses and they all network with each other and give each other referrals. So you give them referrals of, hey, you're a carpet cleaning company. My aunt needs her carpets cleaned, I heard. So here's her number. And then he thinks of you later and goes, hey, I remember Chad gave me some business. I'm going to pass that back to him because I heard someone needs video work, or I need video work for my own company, my carpet cleaning company. So definitely look those up. You can get a lot of work through those business networking groups. A lot of times they cost money to join, so just beware of that as also. All right, yeah, come to Charleston. Come to Charleston and we can shoot some cool footage. Yeah, if I'm ever in that area, that I hear it's gorgeous. That'd be a lot of fun to shoot on. So, so now that we've talked all about getting clients, and man, how long have we been live streaming? 38 minutes already. Holy cow, time flies. So I think I'll, if people stick around, we'll go for about a total of an hour. So hang out. We've been talking about how to get clients. Now let's move into how to price them. So how do you price your work? What's right there. So he's asking, what's a decent day rate for beginners? I was thinking 1,000. So yeah, that's really hard to nail down completely. What's the best day rate, or do you charge hourly? To kind of give you an idea, like when you're first starting out, a lot of times you have no clue what you're worth and what video costs to make and that kind of thing. So when I first started out a while ago, I had no clue. And so I was like, well, I'll just charge by the hour. That's how I get paid at work. And that's how I've always been paid. So I'll just charge hourly. And my day rate, or not my day rate, but my hourly rate, if I was going to come out and shoot a video like the shooting portion was only $25 an hour. I was like, hey, I'll come out, bring my camera, I'll shoot some video for you. And usually it was only a couple hours of work. So I was like, I'll charge $25 an hour. So you shoot for 4 hours, that's only $100. Mistake. Do not do that. I guarantee you, whatever your degree of skill is, that's way too low. Don't start that low. That was a mistake. I'm not doing that anymore. And then when it came to editing time, it was even worse. I was only charging $15 an hour because I was like, hey, it's simple. I'm at home. I'm on my computer. I'll charge $15 an hour. I was not getting paid enough to make those first videos. That was a terrible mistake. So definitely price yourself above that, well above that. But I think as your skills grow, you can definitely raise your rate quite a bit. So yeah, that was pretty bad day rate. So now I would say, depending on the project, I usually like to charge a half day rate or a full day rate. And to answer your question, is asking, do you think $1,000 is a good daily rate? It depends on the market in your area. Some people might be willing to pay that, others might not be. I'd say $1,000. It's a fair price, but it might be a little high. Some people, depending on who the client is, might not be willing to pay for your expertise at $1,000 if you're just kind of getting started. So I would test the waters with that, put a price out there. If people are willing to pay it, definitely keep it at that price. But if you find that, hey, people keep rejecting my bids and not getting back to me and I'm not getting hired for the jobs, price is probably too high. But I think having a decently high day rate like that is not a bad idea. But just kind of play with it, see how it works out in your market. There's been times when I've priced myself out of jobs. Many times when I give a customer a price and they're just, they ghost me, I don't hear anything back, or they're just like, yeah, we were looking for more this price range, and it's like way lower than you were thinking. And usually that's fine. That's a good thing. I'm like, hey, you know what? Go on your way. You know, here's a couple friends. A lot of times I'll refer them to other videographers. If you can, have a list of a couple other friends that shoot that you can send them off to, whether they're the same price or lower or even higher. You can say, hey, well, sorry, it didn't work out. Here's a couple other guys you can check out. Chances are those guys are going to charge something similar or more as well, or maybe less, and they'll find the work that they want. But yeah, if someone doesn't like your price and it's just too high for them, don't always just be willing to drop your price. Be like, okay, no problem. I'll just do it for like $500 or whatever. Because then you're going to find yourself in that rut all the time. It's better to just conserve your time and your energy and wait, for a better, bigger project to come along. So, all right. Just catching up with the comments here. Okay. Okay, so yeah, John is saying that he likes to ask for the client budget. So I'm definitely there with you. Every time I can, I will ask the client, hey, what's your budget for this? And a lot of times they don't want to tell you. They're scared to say a number. They want you to say a number first. But always ask. It doesn't hurt to ask, because a lot of times they'll ask you first, and that puts you in an awkward position. Almost every time they'll say, hey, I want a 60-second video. It's really short. It's easy. It's simple. How much will that cost? And my response is always, well, it depends. Because a 60-second video, if you're making like a Super Bowl commercial, is going to cost millions of dollars. Or in contrast to that, a 60-second video where you're just like interviewing someone quickly, sitting in a chair with one camera setup, that's going to be a lot cheaper. So the time range is never relevant to me. When someone's like, hey, it's only like 2 minutes long, it should be really cheap. And I'm like, yeah, there's a lot of hundreds and thousands of dollar price projects out there that are 2 minutes long. So no, that's not going to work. So just be wary of that when someone asks you right up front, like, hey, how much would it cost to make like a 5-minute video? I just want to make a little quick video for my website. You can't give them a price up front. You need to learn more about what they're expecting out of that video. But yeah, once you kind of know their budget, you can definitely price better. If you ask them, hey, what's your budget for this? Like, what are you thinking to spend? And they give you nothing, and they're like, oh, just come at us with a ballpark figure. What are you thinking? Because basically what they're doing, this is a business tactic, right? They're hoping that you're way lower than they're thinking. They're hoping that you're like, hey, I'll make that video for $1,500, and they're like, win, gotcha. We had a budget for $10,000, and this idiot is only gonna charge $1,500. That's awesome. Now we can spend that money on whatever else. That's what they're hoping is gonna happen. So if they're not gonna give you the budget, don't go low, go high. Instead, be like, hey, I was thinking I could make this for $8,000. And they're like, dang, whoa, that's way above what we were thinking, then you can go down. Or they might be thinking, hey, we had a budget for 10. 8's reasonable. So you just never know. I would say go high, and if it's like priced way too high, you can negotiate it down and just basically explain like, okay, well, I priced it because we had to rent this camera and this location and this lens package. And if it turns out that they're like, hey, no, we don't need to rent that nice camera. Like, you want to rent a Arri for this? Heck no. And anamorphics? Not going to happen. So just know that you can build that project up to a budget that you really think is going to be good to make the ultimate best thing. And then if it's too high for them, you can take things out of it and just say, okay, well, let's shoot at one less location, or let's not get that actor, or I'm not going to pay for craft services, or whatever it is to help bring the price back down. All right. Just catching up on the comments here. So let's see. Yeah, so again, John is saying that he likes to get face-to-face with the client. That's definitely the best way to talk about pricing. It can be an awkward conversation, but you're going to get a good idea of what they're willing to spend when you actually talk to them about it. And yeah, the people that pay the least definitely are usually the worst clients. Usually the worst clients are the ones that own a small business, and they're paying for something out of pocket with their own money. Like, they have savings from their company or whatever, and they usually have the smallest budget. And those are the hardest clients to work with, because they don't want to spend their own money on getting a video produced. They want to spend the least amount as possible. They're a small business owner. The best clients to work with are the ones that are large corporations and have huge amounts of marketing spend available to them, like Starbucks or PetSmart or whatever company it is. Those are the best ones to work with, because they have a marketing budget already allotted to them for the year. So they might be like, hey, we have, this is going to be a small number, but $250,000, whatever the bigger companies are, up to $2.5 million a year to spend on video marketing for Instagram or whatever. It's usually broken down very specifically. Or we have this much money to spend on videos for our YouTube channel. And those are the best companies to work for, because they're actually willing to pay and they know their budgets and everything like that. So they're the hardest clients to get, though. When you're first starting out, a lot of your clients are going to be those small businesses, but just be wary of that. Their budgets aren't going to be as big. They're not going to want to spend as much. And like John was saying, they're going to be the most difficult to work with. And sometimes they're the ones that don't pay or take the longest to pay. Yeah, so saying you don't play mind games. Yeah, don't play mind games, but be strategic with the way that you do your pricing. Depending on the project, you come up with a fair price. You don't want to be like astronomical and through the roof on it, and then just be like, oh, I'll negotiate it down because you just like said you were going to charge $50,000 for a simple video. Like, that's crazy. Come up with a decent price range. But know that this is business, and there are some tactics in it, and they're definitely going to be playing a little bit of tactics with you, because they're trying to get the best price, and you're, of course, trying to get the largest budget you can to make the best video possible for them. So it's kind of a double-edged sword with that sort of thing. All right. Yeah, so what other questions do you guys have for me? Definitely drop them down in the comments. I'm really appreciating all the conversation that we got going here, all the questions and everything, the comments. It's good stuff. So we've talked about getting client work. We've talked about pricing your work. One thing I want to chat for about a second is the day rate. If you have a day rate and Nike comes up to you, you're not going to charge them the same rate. Yeah. So yeah, definitely not. I mean, if you, let's say your day rate's $1,000 and Nike comes up to you and says, hey, can you make a video? Here's what you need to understand about the day rate. A day rate is the cost for you. That's like, hey, I'm going to come out and I'll be on set to shoot this. That is not the cost for the project. A day rate is just that's like getting hired onto a job, right? Your friend says, hey, I want to shoot this video, blah, blah, blah. How much does it cost to hire you? And you say, my day rate's $1,000 a day. And they go, awesome, sounds good. It's not $1,000 to produce that video. $1,000 is one line item of it. So if Nike came to you and said, hey, we want you to produce this video, you say, cool, okay, well, it's $1,000 for me, but we know we have to rent this location or this studio, and that's $2,500. We know we want to rent this nice airy camera, that's $3,000, and we know we got to pay for 2 or 3 actors, that's another couple hundred or a few $1,000s, and then I'm going to spend 40 hours editing this, so that's another $5,000 or whatever. So a day rate is not really a price that you give out to someone for a project. If someone comes to you and asks you to make a video, you don't just say, yeah, it's $1,000, that's my day rate. It's $1,000 to come out and physically be there that day, but that is not the total cost of the project. There's so many other things that work into it. And actually, I want to detail a couple of those. Basically, I've talked about a lot of them already, but the cost of that project, you've got to hire crew, right? So there's the DP, which is probably you. If you're into video, you're probably going to be the one shooting it. Maybe not. But you're going to hire, you might need a director. If you just want to be behind the camera and not focusing on anything else, bring on a director friend or someone you know in the industry that's really good at directing and can get the talent to do what you want them to do and say the lines the way that you want and get the proper emotion out of them. So got to hire them. You need a boom operator. This is one that a lot of people overlook. Are you going to be putting a lavalier on them? Can you hide it? Is it going to give you clothing noise? Or are you just going to put a microphone, a little shotgun microphone on top of your camera? That's probably going to be some pretty crappy audio. So chances are you need to hire a boom operator. That's going to make the cost of the project go up. You got to hire, like I said earlier, talent. You need to hire actors, and then you need to hire hair and makeup. So someone's got to do their hair and makeup. I've been on shoots before where I was like, oh man, like I wish we had a makeup artist. Like they're all sweaty and shiny, and this doesn't look good. That's going to affect the overall product quality. So bring on someone to do hair and makeup. Again, I already said location fees, rental fees, and like we talked about at the very beginning of this video, those rental fees might be from a rental house because you need specific stuff. Maybe you got to rent a Dana dolly or a jib or whatever, or it's your personal rental fee, which is basically like, hey, I'm bringing out my equipment. I need to cover my costs, general wear and tear, and cover in case anything breaks or anything like that on set. And then you have music licensing. There's a good chance that you got to pay for songs, or you might have a subscription to like what I use is Soundstripe. That's my favorite. I also use Artlist. There's MusicBed. There's Storyblocks Audio. There's a whole bunch, but that's a cost. That's all going to go into graphics and animation. Do you have to buy some different graphics? Like if you're putting lower thirds or title cards and things like that into the video, that's going to be a cost. You need to work that in. And maybe you've already bought them in the past, but you're going to be using them in their project. You need to charge them for that and say, hey, like it costs this much for these graphics. It was a cost to you. So whole bunch of other things, voiceover artists, might cost a couple $100 to hire a good voiceover artist, props, costumes, and insurance. Like, are you going to insure the whole project in case anything happens on the project? So there are a ton of things that go way beyond just your day rate or an hourly rate. So maybe I'll make like an outline or an Excel spreadsheet or something that's like really generic, and I'll upload it in the future and you guys can use it to help price out your projects. But just keep in mind there are a ton of things, and I didn't even talk about so much about the post-production or pre-production. A lot of times you're spending hours scripting, storyboarding, shot listing, and then of course all the post-production. So there's just so much that goes into pricing these sort of things. All right. Just trying to get caught up on the different comments here. So, all right. Okay, so asking if you offer any stills. No, I do not. So I usually don't do photography anymore. I used to do photography on shoots, but I found that it was difficult because I use different settings and I use different lenses and cameras for doing photography. So when a client comes to me and asks, hey, come out, shoot this video, we also need photos, I say, that's awesome. I have 10 photographer friends that I can refer you to. And then they could come out on the same day as you and shoot with you. But I never tell them that, yeah, I'll shoot some photos too. Maybe you like to do that. Maybe you love photography. Definitely keep doing it. But for me, it was like, hey, I've got my camera rigged up on a gimbal or a shoulder rig. I'm not going to be taking pictures with this. Like, I got to undo everything and like to make it a little more agile for the type of photography that I want to do. Or I got to change out my lens because usually when you're doing photography, you want autofocus and everything like that. For me, I'm almost always using manual lenses. So that doesn't work out great for me. So no, I don't usually do that. I usually refer another photographer or bring a friend to do the photo side of it. Okay, so John's asking, what's your general pricing you would charge for a 1 minute video for an Instagram post on a company with like half a thousand followers, 1,000 to 2,000 followers? So you have difficulty figuring out that package. Okay, so again, this is where clients and videographers get stuck like constantly. They just say, it's only a minute long. It's only going to go on Instagram. It should be cheap, right? Well, look at all the costs and how they add up. Everything that I just mentioned about hiring anyone else, hiring the talent, and paying for any sort of props or costumes or anything that you need to, that's all going to drive up the price a bunch. So the time of the video doesn't really matter. So I would ask you, whoever you're making it for, what do they really want? If it's pretty simple and they're wanting you to just come out and shoot an interview or kind of get some B-roll of their product or of their company, then you could probably price it, lower if you're only going to spend a couple hours doing it and it's much more simple and there's not a lot of people that need to be hired or money that needs to be invested. But again, that totally depends. I've charged a lot for a 1 minute video because it was complicated. And then for really simple ones, not nearly as much. So it's hard to answer that. And some people don't understand the value of video. Like they're like, it's just an Instagram video. It's just going to be a minute long. It's like, okay, well, if that's how you're looking at it, then we need to way downscale your scope of the project because what you're asking for is way too complicated and going to cost way too much. And it sounds like you don't want to spend that much on just an Instagram video. So let's scale back the video, make it way more simple. I hope that makes sense. So I'm smashing the microphone here, but I hope that makes a little bit of sense and you can kind of talk to your customers about that in the future. All right. Shout out to Soundstripe. Yeah, Soundstripe is awesome. I love their music. Obviously not sponsored, but I use Artlist and Storyblocks Audio as well, and those are decent. Let's see, I think Envato Elements has audio on it too, and I've used music from there. But really, Soundstripe, I found the best music on there. Love their stuff, and I love the way that you can search the website. It's like the easiest to like niche down in genre, tempo, everything like that, instruments. The search is what makes it so good. All right, so we're almost up to an hour here. Again, thank you guys, everyone that's been hanging out. It's been a ton of fun in the chat. It's been just a ton of fun. I hope you guys get value out of this, and there's just like, some learning going on here. But I'm just gonna see what else is going on in the comments, and then if you guys have any final questions for me, we'll definitely chat about those for the last just a few minutes here before we wrap up. So. Okay. All right, so John was asking just a quick gear question about lenses. Talking about possibly getting all the Rokinons. Yeah, so I use a lot of the Rokinon lenses. I have other Sony lenses and Tamron lenses and a couple of vintage lenses, but Rokinon lenses are my favorite. They're my go-to. Anytime I'm shooting a client video, I'm almost always using the Rokinons because I love that they're completely manual and that I can use my I keep smashing this microphone. Ugh. So I love the Rokinons. I love that they're manual. You can do the focusing with them with the Nucleus Nano, and they get really wide open. Most of them go to T1.5. So you can get gorgeous, gorgeous bokeh and that nice, tasty, shallow depth of field that everyone loves. So great lens, great value, really good in low light, and they're super sharp. They're very, very sharp lenses. So yeah, I recommend them. Amy Sell, see you later, man. Thanks for stopping by. I really appreciate it. You've been here pretty much the entire time. Thank you so much for watching. You take it easy, man. So yeah, definitely recommend the Rokinons. They're good lenses. But I would say if you're going to be needing anything for autofocus, it's not going to work. So maybe you need to hang on to a lens or two that can do good autofocus for you, especially if you're doing a lot of gimbal work and you're going to be relying on autofocus. The Rokinons probably won't work super great for you there. So, hey, John, thank you for the €2, I believe it is. Really appreciate that super chat. You guys are awesome. I never expect anything from you guys, but thank you so much. Really helps the channel, helps me stay motivated to keep doing this kind of stuff for you guys. So again, super appreciate that. That's awesome. Thank you so much. Yeah, so it's been a blast. We just hit an hour. I think I've pretty much covered everything on this. Covered how to get the clients from your website, the social medias, and how to price your work, whether you're doing day rates, hourly rates. Make sure you don't underprice yourself. You guys are awesome. I've seen a lot of your work. I go to your channels, just so you know, my subscribers, I go to your channels. I watch a lot of your videos and see what kind of work you're doing. So you guys are doing awesome stuff. Keep at it. You're definitely worth a higher price probably than you're pricing yourself right now. And just a little tip, if you've been at the same price for the past year, it's time to raise your rates. You're better now. You have more equipment. You've probably spent a lot more time learning and shooting and editing. So your price should be going up every single year. It's not like a McDonald's hamburger where it's always 99 cents. It's not the dollar menu here. The price of your work is going up every single year because your skills are getting better and your equipment is getting better. So make sure that you're raising those rates every year. That's a final tip for you guys that I wanted to make sure I threw in there. My rates every single year go up, and I'm hoping someday they're just astronomical, and I'm worth it. So all right, yeah, thank you. Yeah, you could buy a cup of coffee or something. Yeah, I really appreciate that. So thank you guys so much for dropping into the live video here. We got a couple people still hanging out. Thank you so much for watching. It's been a good time. I'm going to try and do these live streams every single Saturday, right kind of in the middle of the afternoon. Let me know if this is a good time for you guys, if Saturday's a good day. I know a lot of people get really busy on Saturdays doing other stuff, but hopefully this is a good time to just hang out, talk about film stuff, talk about cameras, lighting, pricing your work, whatever it is. And let me know, do you guys want me to do like a review of your guys' video work? If you guys want something like that, let me know. I can definitely check out some of your videos and we can review them live together, and everyone in the chat can kind of give you some, constructive feedback and that kind of stuff. So I've thought about doing a live stream like that, but I hope you guys like these live streams. I'm going to start doing them once a week, hopefully on Saturdays when I'm able to, because it's a ton of fun to just kind of give back, hang out with the community. You guys are awesome. Again, thank you so much for dropping in. I will see you guys hopefully next week, and I'll see you in the next video that comes out. Thank you guys so much. Again, signing off. Take it easy. Have a good weekend.